Hello and welcome to February. This is the Price List Update Summary video from Actionable Insights. You've got Harrison here. You've got Whatley there. What's going on, Whatley? How are you doing?
I'm doing good, buddy. What are we doing here today?
We have 32 new line items that came out in the February version of the Xactimate price list. We're going to talk about all 32. But before we start, I just want to remind everybody, Actionable Insights is a 501c6 nonprofit founded to preserve the health of the property insurance ecosystem. As a part of that mission, we do these videos on the Xactimate price list, kind of figuring out what new line items are added to the price list at Xactimate, how they were built, how are they meant to be used, what's kind of the context and purpose to these new additions to the price list. If you've been following Actionable Insights for a while, you know we train Xactimate, we train Matterport. Speaking on the Matterport front, we just released a 100% newly recorded, brand new Actionable Insights Matterport certification course for 2021. There was a ton of new content and updates that happened with Matterport's technology and how people use it to settle claims in 2020. So we got back in the shooting booth, you and me, and we recorded a 100% brand new Actionable Insights Matterport certification course. If you are interested in Matterport, either you've been using it or you're interested to figure out how this stuff works, you can take that course online. It's a self-paced, video-based course at any time. As well as if you are Actionable Insights Matterport certified, you took the course in 2020, as promised, we have the continuing education course for 2021. Why do I mention all this in the Xactimate video? One of the most constant questions that we always get here at Actionable Insights is invoicing for Matterport scans, invoicing for digital assets like TruePlan. And so this year in the AIMC and the continuing education course, we recorded an entire module on invoicing for scans and digital assets. So if you're interested about Matterport, want to know how the technology works and how it can help, and even explore invoicing for the scans and digital assets, that is all in the AIMC course. I'm excited, Wadley. You and I were grinding on that for months together. Really, really proud of that course and what it's doing right now for people that are using Matterport. So
yeah, I think it's the very best of what Actionable's ever created as it relates to the learning management system. I'm really impressed with what the team put together, and I'm especially impressed in that it required very little oversight and direction from the board. So hats off to the Actionable staff for making that happen.
absolutely. Thank you. So without further ado, let us jump into the February editions. We've got 32. I've organized them here. On the left side of my screen, I've got the February updates, the February price list, the new line items in this order. On the right side, we've got the e-service center link where Xact puts all this stuff out. As you can see, it's a nice big wall of text. So let's add some context to this text on the screen here. The top line items I wanted to start with today was the temporary hand washing stations. There's a per month rental charge here. I'll make this a little bit better so we can see this full information. We've got the temporary hand washing station per month charge, as well as a temporary hand washing station minimum rental charge. Now, you and I have been looking at similar line items, even using other line items in place of this line item. This line item was introduced as primarily as a result of the ongoing COVID situation for employees to be able to wash their hands on job sites and things like that. It's very similar to the existing temporary toilet line items and others, and it's built up. Rental charge for a temporary on-site portable hand washing station, priced per month, including delivery and pickup, similar to TMP, TLT, the temporary toilet line item. But we also have a new line item here for a temporary hand washing station minimum rental charge. A minimum rental charge for a temporary portable hand washing station, including delivery and pickup. So my interpretation of these two line items is that if you are going to have a project last at least a month, longer than a month, you would use the per month rental charge. But if you're going to be using a temporary hand station on site for less than a month, then this minimum rental charge line item would be the way to go. What are your thoughts?
I think you nailed it. Let's keep moving.
Boom. Water heater, detach, and reset. 3 new line items. Now, previously there was a detach and reset line item, PLMWHRS. That was detach and reset. But they have split these line items up now into detach only activities and reset only activities. This is in line with a lot of the changes that we've seen with appliances, and we'll talk about appliances and some of the changes, but Xact has been introducing more reset only line items and detach only line items so that people could use them in mitigation and repair in their scopes as needed, rather than having a detach and reset line item with a calculation of 0.5 to represent detach only, or reset only. What are your thoughts on the introduction of these two line items here?
Yeah, I think it's a great addition. Generally speaking, splitting up these line items that are detach and reset with the zero point 0.5 calculation, it would tend to underpay the repair side of the house and overpay the mitigation side of the house. So this is just a more equitable way to approach this particular activity.
And to add
But
some color to that, you say underpay the repair side of the house because of the liability associated with a reset or a reset versus a detach.
yeah, so think of like detaching and resetting a refrigerator that has the 1/4 inch water line. So to detach that refrigerator is probably a little bit easier than resetting it. So restorers would generally agree that's true. But the outsized cost actually comes in the warranty risk as a restorer. If you're resetting that refrigerator, will that line leak? And what's actually happened to me several times as a restorer over the years is you reset that refrigerator and then the compressor goes out a week later because those compressors do not like getting moved around, right? And then you're in that kind of juxtaposition of like, do I pay for this, do I not, right? So there's just additional cost with that reset that are often overlooked, but they're very real if you have an intimate understanding of the business. So I like how the reset side of the house, is getting favored here in the economics versus the mitigation side of the house. And these line items appear to be done accurately in so much as for the WTR line items, this now tracks to the CLN-R trade code because a lot of times this is done by your water tech and it's not actually performed by an outside plumber. Sometimes it is, sometimes it is not. But I'd say more often than not, our water techs can handle detaching a water heater. So I think it's a move in the right direction. And if I'm a claims manager for a TPA, I really like this addition. This is a lot cleaner. A lot of times you have a team where that essentially they're trained to like, hey, I don't want to see any WTR line items on my repair sheets. Okay. And then alternatively, I don't want to see any PLM line items in my dry out sheets. It should be all WTR. And so this allows us to transcend that impasse.
Less arguments is always good. We have one additional addition, nice here. Water heater detach after hours. So I was taking a look at the yields here, yield being productivity. How many of these water heater detaches can you do in an hour? On the normal, it's about 0.95, 0.95. So you've got almost one detach of a water heater per hour. And then in
Well,
the
that's
after
before the supporting events.
yes,
It's
yes.
really
Direct yield,
orders,
yes. And the
right?
direct yield here is 0.7. So it's saying in after hours activities, less productive, slightly lower
Leave
yield.
leave that up for a second,
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
could.
yeah.
So just to clarify, guys, if you haven't caught our training, this is something Actionable trains to a lot, but it's really commonly understood or misunderstood, the relationship between direct yield and yield. So you can see there that the direct yield is 0.702, but the yield is 0.527. And the deltas between those two numbers are informed by the inefficiencies that are driven by the supporting events. So each particular trade has a supporting events inefficiency ratio. And so, like trades like drywall, for example, are like around 33%. And then trades like CLN, like basic cleaning, are maybe around 13 or 15%, in so much as it's easier to deploy a crew of Molly-made cleaners to clean as opposed to a tile crew or a drywall crew that takes more planning and administration to deploy those crews with the adequate equipment and materials.
And for those of you wondering where I found those percentage of Whatley was referencing, you can click on the labor component, hit the edit function here. You can start to look at the different supporting events that exist and see their respective inefficiency rates here. All right. Thank you. Nice work. We've got another line item here, tunneling under slab. I found this one to be a little interesting because if you go here, I'll see if I can get the big additional item information to review here. Labor cost for under slab tunneling and backfilling does not include digging permits, materials, or labor to repair any of the plumbing leaks. This is another line item that says, Xactware recommends that estimators verify their local pricing. So they're encouraging users to verify local pricing. And they have also, I don't see this very often, saying that people can alternatively use the tunneling under slab bid item. So we've had a slab tunneling under slab bid item for a bit now that we've been able to use. Now there's an actual line item with an assigned price to it that you can also use as well.
Yeah, this helps me as a claims manager because now I'm like, okay, I've got a rough baseline. If we're doing 6 linear feet, then I want that to come in. Uh, what's 6 times 350?
1,800, almost 2,000.
Yeah, so that gives me some rough idea of what it should be one way or the other if it comes through as a bid item. So I like how they're kind of establishing a baseline for the price structure, but still giving the flexibility and inviting the user to deviate from their price structure as warranted.
Well said. 3 more line items here added under the modular glass wall system. I want to bring everyone back to last month real quick, January of 2021, where we had new hinge door, sliding door, and the glass wall system line items added for like replace and remove category codes. This month, building on that ability to serve commercial clients in office spaces, we have detach and reset line items for those 3: hinged glass door, sliding glass door, and the wall system in general. So you've got your replace line items, you've got your remove line items. You actually, I'll talk about, they even have reset line items now for these January editions, but now you have detach and reset line items added for modular glass wall systems.
Cool.
We've got a list of equipment, commercial additions this month. We've talked about this in almost every video for 14 episodes going in this series, that Xact continues to look to add commercial related line items to ensure that Xact can be used in various claims or commercial claim scenarios.
Yep.
So we have a dock lift scissor type. There was an EQC lift line item that existed, but you can see here we've got 10, 13,000, 22,000. There's a range of these line items that come with a carpenter to set them up and the material exactly to set it up. You can see a picture here. So if you've got a large commercial loss when you're trying to actually replace these dock scissor lifts, then you would be able, or dock lifts, you would be able to do so with these new line items.
Line items like that are like hard to get excited about unless you think of it from like an IA's perspective. Like, how nice is it that you can estimate a large commercial fire? You run into a situation where the dock lift needs to be replaced. You can there get the specifications quickly while it's on site or from the Matterport scan. Go, okay, it's for 10,000 pound capacity and it's 6x8. Boom, there's my line item.
Yep.
It's possible that staff adjuster is getting supplemented by that contractor 4 months later because that's maybe insufficient, but at least it gets us pretty darn close as it relates to setting our reserves and getting out some initial performance payments to the policyholder. So I applaud the pricing department for bothering to include such an obscure line item. Some IAs will be very grateful that that exists a month from now.
Yeah, and a reminder, nobody knows other is, if you're not familiar, Actionable Insights advocates or clarifies various pricing and line items and things that happen in the exact price list when we meet with the pricing department on a regular basis. So obviously we know Xact doesn't create or add any line items that weren't needed generally. Like they're not building things.
There's enough good stuff to do.
Yeah. So obviously somebody needed this. It's nice to see the addition. Along those lines, surgical center and MedGas, there's been a lot more work done in hospitals in 2020 and whatnot.
I think I can estimate a hospital from the ground up now after the last 6 months of 160
additions.
New hospitals.
Yes. So we've got the Autoclave, 3 different versions of the Autoclave line item here, large, small, and medium. Please note that we're talking 50, 60, 80 grand for the surgical center autoclave. So,
but the autoclave really is for like that surgical center. Like an autoclave, you can buy one for $3 grand on the small side, and then the larger ones are like 20 or 30 grand. But that surgical center is what drives that. So be aware of the components buildup when you're selecting for that. All autoclave is, guys, is it essentially heats up like your scalpel and related surgical equipment such that it sterilizes it. So that piece of equipment itself is usually not that expensive. You can see the lion's share of that is deployed to that surgical center itself.
Yes, you'll see small, large, and medium. This one, they'll have some guidance here for what cubic foot sizes they have and what it would apply to there.
And that's like a huge one. Usually in a doctor's office, guys, you got one that's like 2 cubic feet.
Beep, beep. No, we're talking surgical center, baby. We got big boys in this one.
A lot of surgery, man.
And then MedGas. Alarm panel, header bar, line alarm cylinder, manifold, pigtail, regulator, ceiling connector, retractor, vacuum pump, wall connector, zone valve, box. I say all those things because down below, if you're watching on getinsights.org, you'll have the opportunity to click any of these line items, see what we said about them. So now I can officially say we said all of them.
Mm-hmm,
so there'll be a hyperlink for them. But yes, you've got a bunch of new surgical center line items and med gas oriented line items. If you're doing hospital work, get after it. Here we have a clean fishing pole. It's every month. They got to clean something at Exact. We got one new cleaning edition every month.
Yeah.
So this month, it looks like somebody had a fishing pole loss and it was necessary to clean it. And so they've added some fishing poles.
Yep.
So that's nice to have on that front. Let's jump now to the line item changes. Not only do we talk about the new line items that come out every month, but we also talk about what changed. This month, I've got January here on my left side, January 21. On my right side, I've got the February line item changes. And the first thing I want to point out is that there were no yield adjustments, component additions. There were no major adjustments to existing yields or prices of line items in February of 2021. But that doesn't mean line items didn't change. You'll see 17 changes listed here that we'll talk about briefly. First off, going into February, you have these 7 or so line items for dryers and washers in the appliance category code or the WTR category code. And you'll see here in this highlighted section on the left side of the screen, generally they are modifying the notes to clarify that the plus definition of these line items includes the labor to reconnect dryer vents, gas lines, or gas flex lines, dryer vent hoses, etc. Reminder that does not include the material. So if you need to replace those vent hoses and flex lines, you would still need to use the line items for those in particular, but it does include the labor to detach and reset those various things when, as you can see here in the line item. Same thing with the WTR here. Clean helmet. So I thought this was interesting. I was like, what did they do? So there's a cleaning helmet line item that they added clarification to on what's medium cleaning, light cleaning, heavy cleaning. You and I have debated for years, Whatley, what is light cleaning? What is heavy cleaning? We talk about it most in HEPA vacuuming, but we've got some CGN line items here to kind of clarify what's the difference between light, medium, and heavy. So let's just briefly say light cleaning. Generally, light soiling is easily removed with the use of a cleaning agent in 1 or 2 passes. Light cleaning.
Yep.
Medium cleaning. Medium soiling requires multiple passes, a more concentrated or specialized cleaning agent and or mild agitation to be removed. And you've got the heavy clean here, which is the general heavy soiling requires specialized cleaning agents, heavy scrubbing / agitation, and extensive rinsing. So I looked at the new fishing pole line item. It has these. I looked at CLN Bath, clean bathroom fixtures, and has this note. There's always been kind of, whenever you invite sometimes what I guess you could refer to as a subjective aspect of a line item, how much did you clean it? I cleaned it a lot. I think you cleaned it a little. It can provide some impasses when you're trying to settle the claim. So it's nice to have some guidance here as to, was this a light clean? Was this a medium clean or a heavy clean? You're one of your companies does contents. What are your thoughts on these general descriptions of the types of soiling?
Yeah, I suppose it helps. It's, I think when you approach a contents claim, you want to at least say by level at the very least, if not the entire property, is like, hey, everything required a average clean or everything required a light clean. It's really precarious for the staff adjuster to approve something where like, oh, this was a light clean, this was an average clean, this is a heavy clean. I mean, how much administration would be being deployed by the contents company to determine that, and the staff adjuster to approve if it's warranted? So I would say try to be more general. If you identify one, then like see that through. Similar to how the industry deals with a Cat 1, Cat 2, or Cat 3 loss, we understand that sometimes when a loss moves from a higher level to a lower level, yeah, the category can kind of change, but we've just arrived at the conclusion that we default to the higher cat. So maybe the Cat 2 would apply to the loss more generally, because it gets really unwieldy to try to review and approve that. If like, oh, we're doing PPEs, these kind of PPEs for the Cat 1 upstairs, and then these PPEs for the Cat 2 downstairs, you can end up with overages totally erroneously in your attempt to just try to be accurate. So anyhow, just try to be reasonable when you're defining these light, clean, and heavy. Try to do it at least by level, if not by the loss itself. If I could, let me circle back around on this whole gas dryer.
Sure.
Now that it includes this supply line, I want to like mention from a restorer and even carrier's perspective, it's a good idea to replace your supply lines for gas and for water if they're visibly compromised at all. And that's becoming fairly customary because a lot of carriers have understood that $9 billion worth of water losses can be acutely identified and related back to supply line ankle stop failures, right? And so for gas line, this happens less often, but it's more significant when you do have a major leak in that you could have a major fire, right?
Mhm.
So in so doing, pull up one of the gas line, like one of the
A
gas supply lines.
gas flex line.
Yeah, you got it. And
Which
so,
one? Do you have any of these?
yeah, the
Flexible
24-inch, one half,
Okay.
that's fine. So let's look at this baby. When this is getting thrown in there, give me the components build up.
Labor and material.
You got it. And so here's your labor and material. The right thing to do now, if you are replacing the gas dryer and you recognize that this is kind of a rusty supply line connector, it's not the newer yellow one, it appears visibly compromised, it's probably warranted to replace it. Make sure you include an F9 note, adequate forensic photography, or geospatial scan to support that notion. But say that you do. You should be updating. You can see Harrison's a step ahead to update this to material only, because now the other line items clearly state that the labor associated with this function is embedded within the reset line items for said gas dryer. And so then you would augment it with a materials only gas supply line connector that way.
Well said. Claims
Thanks.
manager, actionable trainer. That's a very common thing that we come across. That small things, right? People want their estimates to be written well, and they want them to be approved without hesitation. Little details like this matter. So good point and context. Finishing strong here, we've got 5 line items. The dock lift, this is the original dock lift line item that existed. It has been updated to clarify size and capacity, along with the complements that were added in February. And then here is these 4 line items now have a reset activity. So the modular glass wall system, hinge door, sliding door, wall system, smoked tinted doors all have a reset activity now added to them as well. Taking a look forward, Xact always adds kind of what they're looking at next, and we have items for hydronic solar panels. Ooh, additional items for interior doors. Could be anything. That's always exciting.
Mhm.
Additional items to remove tile cement backer board, as well as items for 24 gauge agricultural metal roofing panels. So there's new line items every month, or at least new line items and changes. Whatley, I think next week is the Elevate conference. So I know you and I will be there. I believe you might even be. Are
I
you?
am.
You are speaking.
Yeah, on the 9th. So Brandon Donatelli from Matterport and I are going to be exploring the playbooks for rolling Matterport out. And the supposition is, using Matterport is easy, but rolling it out is hard. You and I have trained 50 of the largest restorers in North America in their attempt to roll it out. 2 have failed. We actually discuss, those particular cases, why those failed, some of the missteps around that. And we also go through 3 proven playbooks for success. So what not to do, and then what to do, and what works, what doesn't. So we're going to be going through that at, I think, 2 p.m. ish Pacific on the 9th. But yeah, so that's a 3-day conference. I think it's free this year, guys. So
yes, it is.
I would get in there and participate. And I think you'll actually have unique opportunity to connect with the speakers. So we as the speakers, we have to be on during, of course, our presentation, but also thereafter for Q&A. And so I think that you can actually have pretty unique access to the speakers. We're not that special, but there's some big hitters that are speaking. And it's kind of cool that you can just come in, attend the conference, and then ask those questions directly to those particular stakeholders.
Excellent. Well, catch Whatley on Tuesday at the Elevate conference, so you can get all of the updates on what he's looking at with Matterport and Xactimate. And in the meantime, go use these new 32 line items. Go explore them, test them out, see what you're going to be using. If you do use the scissor lift dock 10,000 pound capacity, just shoot me an email or comment on this that I actually use the EQCD lift greater than signs. So I would love to know that. In the meantime, stay happy, stay safe out there, and good luck settling those claims. Thank you.